I'm Atik Rumi, bringing you the news on Gold FM.
The news headlines on Gold FM.
In your headlines, Russia pledges rapid energy support to Sri Lanka. Failing A-levels does not mean that the future is bleak.
Everyone can't become a professor, chartered engineer. Now we have to think about other factors like professional painting, professional plumbing, professional welding. We have to think about.
GL calls for judicial service extensions across all courts. Trump removes Attorney General Pam Bondi.
The top story on Gold FM.
The National Water Supply and Drainage Board started water cuts across several parts of the Colombo district yesterday. This follows a rapid decline in water levels at the Kalatuava and Labugama reservoirs. Residents in Battaramula, Pamankada, Vallavatta and Navala face a 3-hour suspension every other day from 10 p.m. until the 10th of April. Meanwhile, Paduka, Homagama, Palanvatta and Pannipitiya face 24-hour supply interruptions starting from 8 p.m. on a rotating basis. Deputy General Manager Disna Pandila explained during a press briefing that while Paduka experienced the cut last night, Homagama follows at 8 p.m. tonight.
මුලින්ම පටන් ගන්නේ පාදුක්ක ප්‍රදේශයෙන් ඒ සඳහා ජල සැපයුම් 18000ක් විතර වගේ තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ තුන්වෙනි දර යට වෙනකන් ඊට පස්සේ යාලට අපි දවස් 4ක් වෙනකන් දිගටම ජලය සපයනවා. අපි නැවතත් 7 වෙනිදා තමයි පාදුක්ක ප්‍රදේශයට ජල සැපයුම අත්හිටවන්න තියෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම ඊට සමගාමීව තුන්වෙනි දර යට අපි හෝමගම් ප්‍රදේශයට ඊට පස්සේ පැලැන්වත්තට 4 වෙනි දර යට ජල කප්පාදුව සිද්ධ කරනවා.
This is the local news on Gold FM.
Russian Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Andrei Rudenko promised to take necessary steps towards the rapid delivery of petroleum products to Sri Lanka. The pledge was said during a meeting with Minister of Foreign Affairs Vijay Herath at the ministry yesterday. Rudenko vowed to direct Russian investors toward new opportunities and increase the flow of tourists to the country. The meeting also resulted in an agreement to compensate the families of Sri Lankan security personnel who died while in Russia. Meanwhile, Colombo and Moscow also concluded the 11th round of bilateral political consultations with a commitment to boost cooperation in energy and trade. During the talks at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, both nations focused on securing future supplies of petroleum, coal and fertilizer. Officials agreed to set new benchmarks for bilateral trade and explore a deeper engagement in tourism, education and defense. With the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations approaching in 2027, both sides planned a series of high-level visits to mark the milestone. Meanwhile, former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia, Dr. Saman Veerasinghe, presented the prestigious Order of Friendship Medal to President Anurukumara Dissanayake yesterday. Russian President Vladimir Putin originally bestowed the honor upon Dr. Veerasinghe at the Kremlin in late 2025. The award serves as one of Russia's highest civilian distinctions, marking decades of work to strengthen diplomatic and economic ties between the two nations. The Attorney General informed the Supreme Court that the current administration will not proceed with the previous government's decision to sell 8 state institutions. These entities include Sri Lanka Telecom, Sri Lankan Airlines, the Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation and Lanka Hospitals. This was said by State Counsel on behalf of the AG during the hearing of a fundamental rights petition filed by Dr. Gunadasa Amarasekara and others challenging the divestment. Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe and the previous cabinet appear as respondents in the case. The court heard that instead of a sale, the present government appointed a committee solely to oversee the restructuring of these companies. Former Minister of Justice Professor G.L. Pires says that service extension should not apply only to the judges in the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, but to those in other courts as well. He said this while addressing a media briefing of the joint opposition yesterday. He was also joined by former Justice Minister Dr. Vijay Dasa Rajpaksha, and in the interest of clarity, we refrained from dubbing their remarks.
ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ විනිශ්චයකාරවරයෙක් විශ්‍රාම ගන්නේ අවුරුදු 65දී. ඒ තත්ත්වය එහෙමම තිබුණා අවුරුදු 50ක්. දැන් ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් වෙනසක් කිරීමට වර්තමාන ආණ්ඩුව සැරසෙනවා කියලා පුවතක් පළ වුණා. ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ හා අභියාචන අධිකරණයේ විනිශ්චයකාරවරුන්ගේ විශ්‍රාම ගන්නා වයස අවුරුදු 2ක් කල් දානවා. එනේ ඒ විනිශ්චයකාරවරුන්ගේ නිල කාලය අවුරුදු 2කට දීර්ඝ කිරීම තමයි මේ යෝජිත ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණයේ අරමුණ වන්නේ. දැන් මේකෙන් රජය කරන්ට බලාපොරොත්තු වන්නේ තෝරාගත් අධිකරණ දෙකක්. ඒ උසාවි දෙකේ සේවය කරන විනිශ්චයකාරවරුන්ට පමණක් වෙන කාටවත් නෙමෙයි. තව අවුරුදු දෙකක් කල් දෙන්න ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ නිල වැඩ කටයුතු කරගෙන යනවා. දැන් මේ උසාවි දෙක පමණක් නෙමෙයිනේ මහා අධිකරණය, දිසා අධිකරණ තියෙනවා. මහේස්ත්‍රාත්වරු. දැන් මේ සියලු විනිශ්චයකාරවරුන්ගේ සාධාරණ බලාපොරොත්තුවක් තියෙනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඉහළ යන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා. දැන් අනපේක්ෂිත පරිදි ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ හා අභියාචන අධිකරණයේ විනිශ්චයකාරවරුන්ට තව අවුරුදු දෙකක් දීම නිසා ඒක ඍණාත්මක විදියට බලපානවා අන් සියලු උසාවිවල විනිශ්චයකාරවරුන් සම්බන්ධ. එහෙනම් අපේ පිළියම සියලුම විනිශ්චයකාරවරුන්ගේ නිල කාලය අවුරුදු එකක් වැඩි කරනවා.
ලෝකයේ අනෙකුත් රටවල් ගත්තමත් ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ විනිසුරුවරුන් විශ්‍රාම යනවා අවුරුදු 65දී. අපේ අල්ලපු රට ඉන්දියාව විශ්‍රාම යනවා වයස අවුරුදු 65යි. මෙවැනි සංශෝධනයක් ගෙනාවොත් එහෙම සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ අභියාචනාධිකරණයෙන් පල්ලෙහා 400ක් පමණ විනිසුරුවරුන් සේවය කරනවා. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ නීත්‍යානුකූල අපේක්ෂාවන් භංග වෙනවා. ඒ උදවියට කටයුතු කරන්න වෙන්නේ අපේක්ෂා භංගත්වයක් තුළ දැඩි පීඩනයක් අසහනකාරී තත්වයක් උඩ.
It is alarming that 10% of the students who wrote the advanced level examination last year failed all the subjects. However, that does not mean their future is dark. In fact, there are options that can make them better prepared for the journey ahead. This is according to Professor Krishanta Pathiraja, member of the Governing Council at the National Apprentice and Industrial Training Authority. Speaking to us, Professor Pathiraja said that students pursuing vocational training can help them to be a part of the skilled workforce not only in the country but the world.
Now already they have failed. Now we have to think about how we come out of this situation. Now a lot of vocational development and vocational training authorities available in Sri Lanka. NITA, VTA, German Tech, technical colleges, Maritime College. Why parents put them into this vocational education system? If we put into the vocational education system, they will become a professional from sectors like plumbing, painting, automobile industry and waterproofing technology, and they will become very successful professionals and they will 100% contribute to the Sri Lankan economy.
At the same time, he also had a message to the parents of these students.
Everyone can't become a professor, chartered engineer. Now we have to think about other factors like professional painting, professional plumbing, professional welding. We have to think about. Now time has come to think about these sectors. Now these sectors are highly earned sectors. Sometimes some electrician will be charged per hour more than 3,000, 4,000. Sometimes some plumbers will be charged 4,000, 5,000. Therefore, we have to think about that sector also. Everyone can't become a professional computer engineer, but he can become a computer technician. That's an important factor. Now in Sri Lanka, there's a huge lack of plumbers, huge lack of painters, huge lack of electricians, welders. What the vocational training authorities like NITA, VTA, German Tech, we have to make the professional welders, painters and plumbers and put them into the national economy.
He also explained on how to obtain information about these courses.
Easiest method is the district secretariat office, DS office. Some particular officers are there. They have to go to the DS office and they can get the detail. Now, most of the students are very familiar with the social media and the other websites, internet. They can easily go to the internet and they can easily find out if they interest to go to NITA, where's the nearest location for the NITA center. They can go to that center, the NITA center, VTA centers. There are a lot of instructors are there. They are professionally qualified instructors. They will teach you, they will guide you to which sector you want to come and which sector you can become a successful. Then they have to select that path and they can become a good professional level. And also now VTA, NITA and those institutes also working with the private institutes. That private institutes who they are very related to the some industry related activities like plumbing, welding and these kind of sectors. Now the particular student who has completed their NITA NVQ certificate level, diploma level or advanced diploma level, these private institutes or the private companies quickly they will recruit into their existing positions. Then student will get in a job, experience and also knowledge and the practical knowledge. Both they will get.
Good Friday services take place across Sri Lanka today as Catholics and Christians commemorate the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. The main Good Friday Mass will be held this afternoon at St. Lucia's Cathedral in Kotahena, presided over by Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit. This day of prayer and fasting marks a significant period in the liturgical calendar ahead of Easter Sunday celebrations.
Now for some news in brief.
The Department of Meteorology warns of significant rainfall across multiple regions today, and forecasters predict heavy downpours exceeding 75 millimeters in parts of the western, central, Sabaragama, Uva, north, central and eastern provinces.
The business news on Gold FM.
And now it's time for a stock market update brought to you by Roshan Fernando of Capital Trust Securities.
Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a mixed note by turnover hitting the lowest level so far this year. The All-Share Price Index increased 51 points to close at 21,117. The S&P SR20 Index dropped 28 points to close at 5,875. Turnover fell to the lowest level this year of 1.77 billion rupees. This was significantly lower than the year-to-date average of 5.7 billion. Trading was supported by active participation in Tokyo Cement, John Keel's Holdings, ACL Cables. Sector activity was concentrated in capital goods, banking and materials.
International news on Gold FM.
US President Donald Trump ousted Attorney General Pam Bondi, citing mounting frustration over her handling of the release of Jeffrey Epstein files and her perceived slowness in prosecuting Trump's critics and adversaries. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, a former personal lawyer to Trump, will temporarily lead the Justice Department during the transition. Her firing marks the second high-profile cabinet dismissal in recent weeks, following the ousting of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem on the 5th of March. Meanwhile, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth fired U.S. Army Chief of Staff General Randy George, who had more than a year left in his term, along with General David Hodner and Major General William Green in the latest purge of senior Pentagon leadership. General Christopher LaNeve is set to take over George's role in an acting capacity.
Entertainment news on Gold FM.
Lionsgate's Michael Jackson biopic Michael, directed by Antoine Fuqua and starring Jafar Jackson, is tracking for a $55 to $60 million opening weekend when it debuts on the 24th of April. This is expected to shatter the previous musical biopic box office record set by Bohemian Rhapsody's $51 million debut in 2018. Advanced ticket sales, including pre-sales for early access fan screenings on the 22nd of April, already point to a north of $50 million three-day start, with exhibitors who have seen the film responding very positively. Despite competition from major titles like the Super Mario Galaxy movie and Project Hail Mary, the Jackson Estate-produced film remains in strong shape, with some analysts projecting it could even push toward $65 million.
Sports news on Gold FM.
Sri Lanka Cricket announced the appointment of two new coaches yesterday. Ryan van Niekerk takes the role of national bowling coach. Van Niekerk previously served as the bowling coach and interim head coach for the Netherlands. Joining him is Jordan Gregory, who assumes the position of national fielding and spin bowling coach. Gregory also brings experience from the Dutch national setup, where he worked as a fielding consultant during several major tournaments. That's it for the news. I'm Antik Rumi. Have a great day.